Welcome to the first session on MICAT. So today's session is going to be dedicated on exam overview and while attempting the paper, what should be our strategy in the paper and what are those minute things which we need to keep in mind while preparing for MICAT and while attempting the paper. This session is getting recorded so that you can refer to it in future as well. And before we begin, I'd like to tell you that once again this year we are going to partner with MICA on multiple fronts, and you might be seeing we conducting a lot of sessions throughout Delhi and Mumbai this year along with MICA on career which MICA can provide you and how you can make the best of the opportunities out there, which MICA as an institute offers you. So let us begin now. I'm not sure if you are aware of the latest MICAT pattern. So the MICA paper is going to be divided into two parts. The first part is going to be the descriptive part, and the second part is going to be the MCQ part. Now, in the paper, you are going to get a particular time allocated to both the parts. So, for example, part 1, you have to complete in 35 minutes, and part 2, you will be getting 130 minutes. When it comes to part 1, it will majorly include two questions. One is the essay writing, where first you will have to write say 5 bullet points in favor of the given topic, then 5 points against the topic, and then you have to write as if you are say a neutral person writing an editorial on the topic or just presenting your view. So you have to write 3 different kind of answers for the same topic under the essay writing part. The second part is the story writing, where you might get 4 to 6 pictures. You have to tell that you are taking up those images in what sequence and come up with a story around that sequence of images which you select. Now, the key point to remember here when it comes to part 1 of the paper is, do not leave any question unattempted. It should not be the case that you are spending entire 35 minutes on essay writing or entire 35 minutes on story writing and not able to attempt the other question. Do not spend more than 20-25 minutes on one of these questions and at least 10 to 15 minutes on the other question, because you need to do at least average in one of them and pretty good in the other to ensure that you are qualifying this particular part of the paper. It should not be the case that you have done very well in one part, in one of the questions, that either essay writing or story writing you have done very well and the other question you have screwed up. So that should not happen. Is that clear? That when you are attempting part 1 of the paper, your approach should be to give your best in one, and if not the best in the other, at least average write-up should be there. Nothing below average in the second write-up, and unattempted is a big no. It might lead to a straight rejection. Any questions so far? Devyank, in case you have any question. See, that depends. That is something which you will, while you are practicing mocks, you will get to understand that while developing a good creative story or while thinking of a points from different perspective on the same topic, which takes more time for you. Ideally, what I have seen is people need more time on story writing, that is on the picture based story writing, they need more time. And the points for essay writing, they are still able to write. So in my opinion, the ideal distribution will be spend 20 to 22 minutes on story writing and 13 to 15 minutes on essay writing. Does that answer your question on time management? That is how you should distribute 35 minutes of part 1. Coming to part 2. We will get into the detail of part 2. But first of all, let me share with you that what is the evaluation process in a MICAT paper. How is your paper evaluated? In what sequence are what questions evaluated while they are selecting you for GEPI shortlist? They are definitely not going to read part 1 of anyone. By anyone I mean of all the applicants. What they do? They start off by evaluating your psychometric paper. Only those students who qualify psychometric, their remaining 4 sections of the part 2 are evaluated. Clearing psychometric is a mandatory stuff. There is no cutoff for a psychometric test. You either clear it or you either don't clear it. You don't get 5 out of 10 marks or 6 out of 10 marks. You either clear it or you don't clear it. Psychometric goes in a binary format. So the remaining 4 sections of the part 2, they are evaluated only for those students who clear psychometric. Now when it comes to these 4 sections of the part 2, you have to clear sectional cutoff as well as the overall cutoff. There is a sectional cutoff for verbal, sectional cutoff for cont, sectional cutoff for reasoning, sectional cutoff for GK, and then an overall cutoff. 5 cutoffs need to be cleared in part 2, and if you clear all these cutoffs of part 2, your part 1 is evaluated. So I meet a lot of students who say that I did an awesome part 1, but I still did not get a call. You never know that whether they were able to clear the sectional cutoffs or the overall cutoffs of part 2 or not. So it is not something which is linked to your CAT score. GEPI shortlist is completely independent of your CAT score. What they want is, first, you clear the psychometric test. Second, you clear the sectional cutoffs. Third, overall cutoff, which is the sum of the scores of these 4 sections, that is verbal, cont, reasoning, and GK. And once you do that, then your part 1 is evaluated, and then they prepare the GEPI shortlist. Is this much clear? Is the evaluation process clear? Any questions here? Great. So while we will, when we start off with the course, in the next class we are going to deal with psychometric test in detail. Today we are just going to have a high level overview of the 3 different kind of questions which are asked in psychometric. The first question which is asked to you in a psychometric test is, you will be given 30 statements. These 30 statements are reflecting 30 different traits, or I should say they represent a specific set of traits again and again in a rephrased manner. And you have to pick 10 out of these 30 traits which suit your personality the best. How to crack this we will take up in the next session. But of course, when the word psychometric comes, consistency comes by default. So whenever you are picking the 10 traits out of the given 30 traits, consistency is the one major requirement to clear this question. What are the other aspects we will be dealing up in the next class? But for now, you should understand that it is not that if I am selecting traits, I do not need to care about consistency. I need to ensure that the 10 traits which I am picking up here, they are consistent with each other. Second question. In second question, you are given two arguments. Multiple questions, each question having two arguments. And you have to mention that out of the two arguments with which you strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, and similarly with the second argument. Usually there is a correlation between the two arguments given to you, and that is where they try to check your consistency. It is not that they are randomly putting any two arguments in the given question. The two arguments being put in the question, they do have a certain correlation between them, and that is where they get to check your consistency when you are rating agreement or disagreement with the given argument. In the third set of question, they will give you a situation and multiple responses will be given to you for that particular situation. You have to rate that if you were in that particular situation, out of the given 6 responses, what will be your priority order? Again here, giving the priority order to the responses, you need to ensure that there is a put two contrasting responses, numbers. Because if I am dealing with the situation, there will be a certain thought process going in my mind, and this can definitely not be effective if I am dealing with two contrasting implementations together. So that is one of the major things which I need to keep in mind while I am rating my responses. So these 3 questions, we have just discussed a very brief about them. We will be dedicating one class each on all these questions from next class onwards. So we will start off with psychometric classes first. We will deal these questions in detail as well. So right now I have just shared a very small brief of what you should keep in mind while you are tackling these questions. There are certain other aspects as well which get into while answering these questions, which we will take up in detail in upcoming sessions. But whatever we have discussed so far, in case you have any doubt, as of now, please feel free to ask. Any query? Divyang, Divya? Okay. Now, before I get into the other 4 sections of part 2, let us try to understand that how should I approach part 2 as an overall unit. One thing I should let you know, I'm not sure if you know already, you can switch between the sections within part 2. You can start off with verbal ability, then go to psychometric, then come back to quantitative aptitude, then go to GCAT, then go to reasoning. Or you can start from psychometric and then go to other 4 sections depending upon your strengths and weaknesses. The catch here, which you should keep in mind, is to clear any psychometric test. To clear any psychometric test, it is very important that you have attempted each and every question of the psychometric test. If you leave a question unattempted in a psychometric test, you will not clear it. You will not clear a psychometric test if you leave a question unattempted. Hence, the strategy in terms of approach for part 2 should be always attempt psychometric test first. 1. Your mind is fresh. Because after solving a reasoning question, after solving a quantitative question, usually our mind gets tired. So we might not be able to keep a watch on the consistency aspect. Also, if I have spent a lot of time in other 4 sections, I might not have a good time in hand to attempt the psychometric part. Hence, it is suggested that you always attempt psychometric test first in part 2. Once you have done that, once you have attempted psychometric test, then you move to the other 4 sections and keep juggling between them as per your usual preparation. But psychometric should be done and dusted first. Is the rationale behind it clear to you? Any questions? Great. Now moving to the other 4 parts and just having a quick look on the important topics from which you will be getting the questions in the exam. The verbal ability part, that is the English language, it is going to have 25 questions, majorly around 5 topics. Usually you will not find a 6th topic in a MICAT paper when it comes to verbal. One is the RC part, reading comprehension. Reading comprehension, which you are going to get in MICAT, is going to be a very straightforward one. The approach should be as simple as first looking at the question, then finding its answer out. You will hardly get any inference based question in a MICAT RC. Then you have fill in the blanks, which are usually vocabulary based questions. And here, a particular fill in the blank question usually has 2 blanks in it. It's not a single blank fill in the blank, it is usually 2 blanks fill in the blank. Then you have usual suspects of verbal ability like sentence correction and para jumbles. And then you have a dedicated part on idioms. You might have 2 to 3 questions out of idioms in the English language section of the paper. For this, we will be providing you one indicative list of phrases and idioms, which before going through the wide sea of idioms, we will suggest you to first go through that list of idioms, just because they have a higher frequency of occurrence in exams, before you get hold of any book and just start mugging up thousands of idioms. Before that, go through 200-300 idioms which we will provide you. So these 5 topics form the basis of your English language part in the MICAT exam. There is no critical reasoning, there is no FIJ. There is no antonym synonym. There are no analogies. These 5 topics are my main topics when it comes to verbal in MICAT. Any questions around verbal? How to go about its preparation? Just in case you are preparing for CAT, just go through level 1 questions of any CAT preparation book, and that should be more than sufficient. Do not get into level 2, do not get into level 3, just level 1 of any CAT preparation book. Any questions here? Great. Moving to the con part, con section. Con section is going to have 25 questions again. Now out of these 25 questions, majority of questions are going to come from arithmetic and number system. Data interpretation, you will get 2 caselets, around 7 to 8 questions. Then you have around 8 to 9 questions from arithmetic, 5 to 6 questions from numbers, and 1 or 2 questions from modern maths and mensuration. Mensuration max to max 1 question, modern maths max to max 2 questions, and the remaining get distributed between numbers, arithmetic and data interpretation. There is no geometry, there is no circle, there is no linear equation, there is no quadratic equation which will usually appear in a MICAT paper. In arithmetic, what are the topics? Time, speed and distance, time and work, profit loss, simple interest, percentages, mixtures and allegations. These are the topics which form your arithmetic. When it comes to numbers, Devyan, you can say geometry slash mensuration to be 1, but usually the question will come from mensuration, that is around area of a rectangle, square, cylinder, cube. Usually not a typical geometry question like it comes in CAT. They are not going to throw at you a circle for a question, for example. So if you ask me, even without preparing geometry and mensuration, I can easily score high in the quant section of MICAT. Not only clear the cutoff, but even score high. Because geometry slash mensuration will just form 1 question. In numbers, I am just coming to that, Divya. In numbers, do not keep on practicing tough remainder theorem questions. You are not going to get them. Prepare very basic stuffs around LCM, HCF, divisibility, last digit, face value, place value, those kind of easier questions. Remainder theorem, just the level 1 of any CAT preparation book. No level 2, no level 3 questions from remainder theorem. Is this clear? Numbers and arithmetic clear? Then I will move to other topics. So now you should be able to discriminate that what needs to get into a MICAT preparation and how is it different from, say, preparing quant for CAT. And this is how your approach of practice should be based around. Data interpretation, basic steps, line graph, bar graph, pie chart, tables. These 4 things. When it comes to modern maths, topics under modern maths include set theory. So you can find a question from sets. Then your progressions, that is your AP, GP. And then PNC and probability. Now when it comes to PNC and probability, they are not going to ask you tough questions like it may happen in an exam like CAT. They might ask you a very basic question, just formula based. If I am arranging in a line, arrangements could be n factorial. If I am arranging in a circle, it could be n minus 1 factorial. In progressions, very basic stuffs around sum of a different progression, what could be the product of the different numbers. So very basic stuff around set theory, progressions, probability and PNC. Very basic stuff. So that is how your quant section is going to be. Any doubts, any queries here? Just very simple formula based questions from PNC and probability. In numbers, majorly around LCM, HCF, last digit, divisibility, place value, face value, and then very basic remainder theorem and factorials. When I say last digit, that also includes a unit digit where I am given, say, x to the power y, and I have to tell the unit digit. So that is the highest level of difficulty which you can get in a con section from numbers. Is it clear now? Great. Now, while English and con, they have 25 questions each, reasoning ability section is going to have 30 questions. Only 4 topics. Only 4 topics in reasoning ability. 1. Word association. Out of 30, almost 10 questions are from word association. Here, you will be given 4 words in one column and say 5 to 6 words in other column. You have to associate the words and usually mark the option which is not forming the part of any association. We will have a special session on word association because that is an important part, and we understand that it's important to have at least one dedicated session on word association to help you do well in it. So we will keep that in the course as we move ahead. So word association 10 questions. Then visual reasoning 10 questions. Now word association and visual reasoning together is 20. It might be that word association come 12 and visual reasoning is only 8. But together they will form 20 questions. And always word association will either be equal or higher. That is the 2 major topics of reasoning ability, and then almost 5 questions each from statement conclusion and statement assumption. So reasoning includes only these 4 topics. Any doubts? Any questions here? Great. Now English had 25 questions, Cont had 25 questions, reasoning had 30 questions, GK has 25 questions. Areas covered in GK include, out of 25, almost 10 questions are going to be around businesses, brands and media, which includes media news, brand taglines, CEOs, business deals, mergers, acquisitions, etc. Then around 2 to 3 questions around abbreviations. 4 to 5 questions around current affairs. And then 1 or 2 questions each on history and geography. This is the major distribution of GK section. Do not worry on the GK study material. We are going to provide you a very comprehensive GK material for MICAT. CEOs of usually you can say Fortune 500 companies and the big media houses and the big advertising companies. We will provide you a very exhaustive material of GK that will be live in your accounts within next 2 days, and then the initial set of ebooks will be live in your accounts within couple of days, and then we will start, then we will keep adding more latest news and on monthly basis to that. But the initial thrust of material will be there in your accounts within 2 days and you can start studying. Last year out of 25 questions, I guess around 18-19 questions were from our material. So those are certain quick marks in almost no time if you have gone through our material very well. So please do focus on those GK ebooks which we are going to provide you, though they are prepared specifically for MICAT. We will be providing you lot of GK tests also as we move towards the month of September, October, and even questions can come from those tests. So do study our GK material very well before looking out for any other GK material. sorry, yeah. So this is the overview of the exam, overview of the breakup of the topics, overview of what kind of a difficulty level should you practice. For visual reasoning, statement conclusion and statement assumption, you may like to refer to R.S. Agrawal. Word association is not there anywhere. So whatever we will provide you in mock tests and in couple of assignments, that is the biggest material available on word association. For cont and verbal, you have understood level 1 of any CAT preparation book should be good enough. Plus idioms, first from the list which we are going to provide you and then from any other source. Psychometric, I have given the overview. We will be starting off with the regular session with the first class on psychometric in our upcoming session. When it comes to attempting part 2, as a quick recap, always attempt psychometric first and then move to other 4 sections. There is a sectional cutoff as well as the overall cutoff when it comes to verbal, cont, reasoning and GK. Psychometric, you cannot leave a question unattempted. If you leave it unattempted, it may lead to a straight disqualification. And since Divya, you joined late, let me just give you a brief once again as we end this session that what is the sequence of evaluation. First, they are going to evaluate your psychometric paper. If you clear psychometric, then they move to evaluate your other 4 sections. If you clear the sectional cutoff as well as the overall cutoff, only then your part 1 is evaluated. And then on the basis of the overall score, you get a GEPI shortlist. And even when it comes to part 1, ensure that you are attempting both essay writing and story writing. You should not end up spending entire time in just one of them and leaving the other question unattempted. Ideal time distribution. Yeah, so Divya, so before I move to your query, the ideal time distribution for part 1 is spend around 20-22 minutes on story writing and the remaining time on essay writing. Because usually connecting the images take a bit more time. Psychometric, the major foundation stone of any psychometric test is consistency. You can bring in the consistency by either being very true to the core, or by ensuring that you are answering in the extreme. How to use these 2 techniques to ace a psychometric we will discuss in the upcoming session. But the underlying foundation of any psychometric test to clear it is maintaining consistency. After consistency, then come the other aspects like leadership traits and all. But first and the foremost is consistency, and 9 out of 10 students get rejected in a psychometric test only because of consistency issues. So do you understand? We will deal in detail on the psychometric test in the next session, where we will get into the nuances which need to be taken care of to clear a psychometric test. But at a high level, consistency is the major foundation block. Any questions so far? Any questions on any high level discussion which we have had today? Divya, any question? Vamsi, any question? Great. So what I will do is, I will share with you the schedule of the classes to be held in the month of July in the course. Okay. So Divya, just to help you understand, there are not 3 different essays in essay writing. Topic is only one. First we have to write 5 points in favor, then you have to write 5 points against, and then you have to write 5 points as an opinion or an editorial. Writing all the 5 points is not mandatory, but at least you should write 3 points under every head. And try to write 5, but if you are not able to think of 5, at least 3 to 4. Do not write less than 3. Does that answer your question? No, it's not a paragraph writing, it's a bullet points. Bullet points. Not mandatory to fill up all the bullets, but at least 3 should be filled to let them have some points. Good if you write 5, above average if you write 4, but 3 is mandatory. There is no hard and fast rule which says 3 is mandatory, but usually it looks very bad if you have written less than 3 points. And if I am the evaluator, probably I will not give you good marks. So to get good marks, ensure you write at least 3 points under every head. And if you know more, probably 5. Again, what to write, how to write, we will get into those discussions when we take up classes on essay writing and story writing. Is it clear now? Great. So I think we will end this session here. I'll share the schedule of the classes to be held in the month of July with you so that you know which day which class is going to be conducted. And even if you miss any class, the recording is going to be made available in your account for future reference. Even if you have attended the class, you can always go back to the recording and see it. This session's recording is going to be available in your account right away. I will drop you a mail once the recording is live in your accounts. Because few of you have missed the initial part of the session. So I will request you to please go through the entire recording once. It will help you. So I hope I was able to give you a high level overview of the exam and what should be the approach and what are the important topics. Now from next session onwards, we will start getting into the details of everything. This document is also going to be there in your accounts. Any queries? Devyang, Divya, Vamsi, any question which you want to ask? Great. So have a good weekend. We will meet in the next session. I'll be sending the schedule shortly, and as per the schedule, we will have the next class. Thank you everyone for joining, and let us all crack MICAT together and ensure that all of you get into MICA. Thank you. Have a good weekend.